Okay, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. How is everyone feeling? I hope everyone is excited about the program we are going to launch this evening. My name is LaToya Benjamin. I serve as the director of the Du Bois Fund Center here at Medgar Evers College. I'm really excited to share this phenomenal information with you guys tonight. But before we jump into this information, I want to share a little bit more about the Du Bois Fund Center for Public Policy. The Du Bois Fund Center for Public Policy is an academy of scholar activists and advocates dedicated to forging solutions to challenges confronting people of color living within urban communities in the United States and throughout the African diaspora. DBC produces research, formulates policies, sponsors conferences, and produces public affairs media programming that advances economic and social justice. Ladies and gentlemen, what would be a better topic to talk about in terms of social justice than deed theft and housing and affordability? So our topic tonight is deed theft in New York, what it looks like and how can you prevent it? The Du Bois Fund Center is leading the charge in addressing the pressing issue of deed theft. In this upcoming webinar, we will share a thorough prevention strategy to safeguard against deed theft and highlight the warning signs that indicate someone may be attempting to unlawfully transfer ownership of your property. Ladies and gentlemen, under the leadership of Dr. Blair here at the School of Business, we have been hosting a series of conversations with leadership all throughout New York State on all levels of government, all throughout the country, on how can we stop this issue, ladies and gentlemen. We have been working with the private sector, the public sector, you name it, producing research, holding people accountable on how we are going to save our community. These are just some of the events that have taken place over the several years with various different partners that we would like you to know about. And of course, today we have a dynamic show today with some phenomenal subject matter experts. Some you may know, some you may have not seen before, but you're going to hear from all of these phenomenal people soon. And so just so you are aware, we have a tight program, ladies and gentlemen. We're doing, welcome and introductions. We're going to have the honor to hear from Dr. Zulema Blair, who is the Dean and the leadership here of the School of Business in DBC. We have some special acknowledgments from our New York State Assembly Majority Leader, Crystal People-Stokes. We want to acknowledge her staff that is on the line. We have our heroic and phenomenal Assemblywoman, Phara Forrest from the Great Assembly District 57 here at Medgar Evers College, who will be speaking. Then we have our keynote speaker, Mr. Peter White, who serves as a director of the Mayor's Office of Deed Theft Prevention. You're going to hear some cool information from him. We have Ms. Horton from the Deputy City Registrar's Division of Land Records from the Department of Finance that's going to help us safeguard our deeds on this software that the city uses. Then we're going to hear from our subject matter experts from DBC's legal arm, and that is from Ms. Rhonda Maco and Ms. Yvette Dudley. And we will close out from here from our community-based sponsors, Executive Director Angela Cummings, representing the Neighborhood Housing Services of Brooklyn. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. And so with that, Dr. Blair, are you on the line? Would you like to share? Okay, Dr. Blair is not online. I'm going to ask if our phenomenal Assemblywoman, Phara Souffrant Forrest, if she could share a few words with us.
Thank you so much, Ms. Benjamin. I truly appreciate the welcome. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining this very important and timely call right now. I want to first start off by thanking the Du Bois Fund Center at Medgar Evers under the fearless leadership of Dr. Zulema Blair. And thank you so much, LaToya, for your work that you've been doing to keep the steady ship on making sure our communities remain engaged in thoughtful and important conversations such as this. And also thank you for NHS for organizing this critical webinar so that we can continue to find ways to protect our communities because our homes are under attack. We know that. Home ownership is the cornerstone of generational wealth for families here in Brooklyn and across New York State. It represents not only the mark of hard work, but also sacrifice and investment. And deed theft isn't a direct attack on that legacy, Black legacy at that. And it's happening right here in our neighborhoods. This deception can be through forged documents, for fake sales, predatory contracts, foreclosure rescue scams, and even now we're seeing legal guardianship being tied into deed theft. And we'll learn more about the different tactics throughout this webinar. But as your assembly member, I want it to be very clear. Deed theft is a crime and it is unacceptable. It is a crime that disproportionately targets our senior citizens, our longtime homeowners, and communities of color. And we must treat it with the urgency it deserves. Knowledge about how to prevent it is centered around protection and power. And when we understand the attack, that's how we are able to stop it. And then we'll know what legal resources are available, and it then becomes far harder to victimize homeowners. My office is here. It's at 55 Hanson Place. I do live in the neighborhood of Crown Heights. Several constituents have reached out to my office regarding suspected deed theft, and I've been able to connect them with free and low-cost legal services. And so, of course, we're thankful for the partnership of our Attorney General, Letitia James, and we know that we can lean on her office for help as well. Stop. Please do not hesitate to reach out. Okay, I encourage everyone on this call to stay engaged, ask questions, and share your thoughts, and share what you learned tonight so that each one can help another. Thank you.
Awesome, Assemblywoman Souffrant. Thank you so much for your leadership and your warm greetings and information that you share with us. Thank you. We look forward to continuing working with you on this issue of deed theft. Up next, ladies and gentlemen, we have a phenomenal speaker from the newly established Office of Deed Theft and Prevention. I have the honor and privilege of introducing Mr. Peter White, who serves as the director of the Mayor's Office for Deed Theft Prevention. He previously worked as the supervising attorney of the Homeowner Assistance Program at Access Justice Brooklyn from 2019 until 2026. There, he specialized in foreclosure defense and deed theft litigation cases. He has extensive experience in creating legal community education outreach programming and is the leadership of this new office with New York City. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Mr. Peter White.
Hi, thank you for that wonderful introduction, LaToya, and thank you for having me, everyone. So I'm just going to speak a few minutes about the Mayor's Office of Deed Theft Prevention and kind of what we are seeing. So the Mayor's Office of Deed Theft Prevention generally has three main tenets: identification, prevention, and remediation of deed theft. And those are things that my office and the city government are dedicated to achieving. Most of the deed theft cases we've seen in this office, but also legal services and the Attorney General's office, DA's office. They've mostly been centered in Queens and Brooklyn, mostly black and brown communities, and a lot of the victims of deed theft have been senior citizens and also heirs of people that have passed away. And this is clearly a grave problem for our communities, and something we are dedicated to trying to resolve. The office actually opened about a month and a half ago, and we are currently trying to build it out, trying to hire people, and also help individuals with their cases. So we actually have our webpage. Our webpage went up. It is www.nyc.gov/deed theft. In there, you can go and you can find information about deed theft, but you can also file a complaint through our intake process. We would love to catch situations early before they happen. We can provide people essential information concerning their deed theft matter or concerning a family member or friend's possible deed theft issue, and then get individuals to the resources that they may need We are working in partnership with the New York City Sheriff's Office. And we're also working with the various district attorney's offices, the attorney general, and legal services. So I am going to speak a little bit in terms of what we are seeing on the ground. And I believe these issues that I'm going to just briefly describe, because I know we have a broader presentation coming up, but these are some of the things that I think people are generally seeing these days. And I think that deed theft, and from my perspective, you have two very broad categories of deed theft. First one is forgery, which is exactly what it sounds like. Someone sees the signature of another person, they forge it, they go to a notary or someone who purports to be a notary. They get the document notarized and they file it with the city, claiming that the document is a legitimate deed. Now, those are the more, they can be the more straightforward cases. I mean, generally individuals know if they sign a document or not. So those documents are generally void from their inception. I'm sorry. So what we call void ab initio. And then also we have cases of general fraud. So they involve unfair or deceptive acts. So generally, the signature for the deed is acquired through fraudulent means. And it's a little bit harder to reverse those cases because you have to demonstrate that these situations are fraudulent, right? So some of the types of deed theft we generally see, and I think some of the classic ones, right, like are home repair fraud. Someone goes, you have they go, they find a contractor. A contractor's kind of canvassing the neighborhoods. People came up to me, and they've told me, they said, oh, well, this contractor, they were in the neighborhood. They claimed that they were doing work on the neighbor's house. They come, they said, oh, you need your roof repaired. You need, this done. You need that done. And generally, these people can kind of determine who maybe some of the seniors in the community may be, or or just based on the home, right? So they'll look, they say, oh, this home needs repairs. Okay, maybe we have a senior citizen living here, or someone who may not have the funds to take care of it. And then they'll go to them, they'll say, hey, I'll fix it up, I'll do it X, Y, Z. They'll have them sign a big stack of papers, and one of the documents is a contract. And I think those types of fraud have been occurring for a very long time. You also have situations in which people find, generally seniors, people with Alzheimer's or dementia, and then they'll have them sign powers of attorney, giving the fraudster the ability to go and execute real estate contracts. And a lot of times, these situations are especially sad because people will clear out their bank accounts, so all their savings, their retirement, their 401k, and then they'll take the home as well, essentially leaving the homeowner with nothing. We see a lot of lease back and repurchase agreements, and some of these types of loans, I mean, or not loans, but some of these types of frauds are very difficult to detect until it actually happens, or until something happens years down the line. I think a very prominent one is people go up to individuals. It could be a family, or could be a friend or a friend of a friend, and they'll say, okay, well, I hear you're having foreclosure issues. I'll tell you what, you transfer the property to me. I'll get you a loan modification, or I'll refinance the house. I'll collect rent from the home for some months, and then I'll transfer it back. They take it, they never do, and then they eventually try to evict the person. So those are big issues that people face. A lot of times, people that hold themselves out to be loan modification specialists will go and they'll claim they can get a loan mod, or do some other work, maybe refinance the home for them, say that they're mortgage brokers, and then they eventually do some tricky things with the paperwork and try to take the home. Big one that a lot of people are really not aware of. They're kind of aware of it. It happens a lot, but they don't know that there's fraud done with it is short sales. So short sale generally happens when someone's underwater in the home, and when we say by underwater, is that that individual owes more than the home is worth, and people will come, investors will come, and they will try to get the individuals to sell them the home for an artificially lower price, so the bank will approve it, and then they'll give them money under the table. But sometimes a lot of these homes are not actually underwater. So they'll try to cheat them out of their equity in the homes. And then appraisers will be involved. A lot of times they'll appraise a home for less than what it's actually worth. And then also we see a lot of predatory lending situations involving hard money loans that are generally for home flipping. And individuals will find, or investors will find, people who maybe in foreclosure, or there's a reverse mortgage on the home. They'll offer them these onerous terms that really make no sense. They'll make them transfer the property into an LLC, so it's a little bit more ambiguous to see what's happening with the home. So a big thing we would really advise people of is, if people come and they say, oh, well, we'll help you save the home, we'll help you do this or that, and they require you to transfer the property out of your name, then you definitely should not do that, and you should speak with an attorney or the mayor's office of deed theft prevention to try to determine what's going on, because I know that's the biggest problem for a lot of people, determine what's going on. What we would suggest that people do, and we have a few steps. Again, you should register for Acris notice of recorded document, and basically that will send homeowners either a text, an email, or it will call the homeowner if there is a deed filed under that address. Fill out an intake form with the mayor's office of deed theft prevention, and a representative will try to contact the individual concerning that matter. Also, only hire a licensed contractor or appraiser. You can go to generally the New York State website and see who's actually licensed, because a lot of people also end up in deed theft situations because they'll hire an unlicensed contractor to do work. They'll get a bunch of Department of Buildings violations, and they have to pay them off and do the work, and that requires money, and they end up in the lap of a shady financier. Also, again, do not sign over your deed to anyone as a part of a future unwritten agreement. Generally, in New York State, we have it's called it's called statute of fraud. So generally, any contract over $500 must be reduced to writing, as we say. So you really have to get any of those agreements in writing. Do not transfer your home into the name of an LLC without hiring an attorney, and that's an attorney, not an attorney who's associated with another party in any type of transaction, but attorney you find someone you trust, just like the attorneys at the Du Bois Bunch Center. Also, do not sign any document you do not understand. Again, speak with an attorney. And if you want to execute a power of attorney, please speak with an attorney alone, not with a family member, not with a representative, and not someone that a family member or representative trusts. You need to go and find your own counsel, and that will at least reduce the chance that a fraud is going to happen. Also, if you want to take out a loan with any entity, make sure that the company is licensed to do business in New York State. And also, if you have an emergency, and what we define as emergency is an illegal lockout, burglary, larceny, or threats of violence against a homeowner, please contact the New York City Sheriff's Office right away, 718-707-2100, or local law enforcement, but I would suggest that you contact the New York City Sheriff's Office. And thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Peter, for that wealth of information. And we appreciate your leadership at the mayor's office. And we look forward to our continued partnership with you and your office as you continue to build out the organization. So thank you again. At this time, we're going to go deeper into how to track your deed with Acris. At this particular time, I would like to bring up Ms. Horton. Ms. Horton has 17 years of experience working with the City of New York. She began her career with the city in 2009 with HRA, later joining the New York City Department of Finance in 2015. She currently serves as the Deputy City Registrar for the outer boroughs within the Land Records Division. Ms. Horton is committed to improving operational efficiency, strengthening public service, and ensuring the integrity of property records within this role. Ladies and gentlemen, let's help me welcome Ms. Horton.
Thank you, Ms. Benjamin. Nice meeting you again. I'm on with two of my colleagues as well, Ms. Sharon Kelly French. She is the Deputy City Registrar for Manhattan, and also Ms. Cheryl Scanterbury. She's the manager for the Land Records Contact Center. I will give that number out at the end of my presentation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain a little bit about the City Register, then I'm going to share my screen so you can see how you actually do a search in Acris. So the Division of Land Records, City Register, is responsible for maintaining all official records of real property and personal property transfers, such as deeds, mortgages, and lease. We collect mortgage recording tax, New York City and New York State transfer tax. Our offices, City Register offices, consist of 4 boroughs, which is Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, and Manhattan. For Richmond County, which is Staten Island, you have to go to the county clerk office, which is located in Staten Island. Our records are maintained in the electronic format in the automated City Register information system, which is called Acris, ACRIS. We are managed and required to regulate at several levels of government: the New York State Real Property Tax Law, Article 8, 9, 12, and the Tax Laws, Article 11 and 12. Uniform Commercial Code, Uniform Commercial Codes, also Article 1 and 9. The City of New York Administrative Code, Title 7, Chapter 9, and the United States Government Internal Revenue Code, Federal Tax Liens, Section 6323, sorry. At this time, I'm going to share my screen. I'm already going to be on the website, but I'm going to tell you how you get there. Let's see. Everybody can see my screen? Okay. So how you get to the screen, you can go in and type in www.nyc.gov/finance or /Acris, ACRIS. If you do it towards ACRIS, it'll take you straight to this landing page of Acris. As you can see, it tells you that we're the automated city register file system. We have images and records from since 1966 to present. As you can see, we have a blue banner right here: beware of scams and fraud. We will never send you a text message or email you or asking for your username, password, security guard, or any personal information. From here, you're going to start using Acris. Your screen will come up just like this. At the top, you heard Mr. Peter White talked about the Notice of Recorded Document Program. This is the actual link that takes you there. However, the site is being worked on, so the way how you may search, you will have to do it through the main Acris site. When I go back, I will show you how to get there. You can search property records, find addresses and parcels. This link will take you to apply for exemptions. This is when you have to actually record your document, calculate fees, and electronic data services. I'm going to take you to a basic search, which is find addresses and parcel, because most people don't know every information on their property. For example, if I click search property records, it will take you here. It says you can search by party name, parcel identifier, which is your borough, block, and lot, the document type, document ID, city register file number, transaction number. Older documents have real and page, and you have UCC, federal lien, and federal lien file number.
Excuse
I'm
me, Ms.
gonna-
Horton. I'm not
Yes.
sure if your screen is moving. I think
It
your
is, screen is froze?
I think it's still on start using Acris screen.
Oh, okay, let me see.
Sorry.
No, that's no problem. I'm gonna try again. Does another screen show up? Or it's still showing the same screen?
I'm still seeing the screen that says Acris, start using Acris, scheduling an appointment.
Okay, let me see what's going on here.
You're probably sharing a window or sharing the window, not the screen.
I actually was sharing the Microsoft Edge tab. That's what I
Right,
was.
You need to share the entire screen, so it'll show the pop-up window.
Okay, I see it now. Is it showing?
Yes, we're on search property records, main options.
Okay, I'm gonna click on search property records. I want to see if the screen flips, if you see another area, okay? Do you see another screen?
Yes.
Okay, so, all right. Sorry about that. So what I was explaining before, when I clicked, I was on main options. If you know your information, like your borough, block, and lot, document type, these are very extensive search. If you already on Acris, a lot of times you probably will know your borough, block, and lot information or the city register file number. But for people who never searched Acris, never looked at Acris, I always advise people to do find addresses and parcels. You click on find address and parcels, you will enter the county or borough where you're located at. I'm going to use the office building that I work at, which is 66 John Street. That office is located in Manhattan. I'm going to put in 66. I'm going to type in John Street. Make sure you spell it out, or you can put ST, but you don't want to put, just S. It's not going to go through. From this point on, you're going to click Find BBL. BBL means borough, block, and lot. So this numeric number is attached to this borough, block, and lot. Once you have this number that populate, you're going to go to your right and you're going to click Document Search by BBL. It'll take you to another screen. This screen is telling you that you can search results by search by parcel identifier. So it's basically taking the information that you had, came up with the numbers, and it's populating here. So the borough, block, and lot is Manhattan, block 67, lot 1. From here, you don't have to do anything else. You just click search, which is next to the clear button. Now, this is what we call the index, search results by parcel identifier. This tells you the details of the document, the image, the CRFN number, the lot, if it was covering the entire lot, the document date, when it was recorded, date and time, the type of document, how many pages, the party 1, which is the buyer, the seller, party 2 is the buyer or the person who have interest in the property. From here, the best thing to do a search is you change your max rows to 99. 99 open up all your pages of everything that's recorded from when this property was established or when Acris had the information for it. So in this particular one, you can see that it has different types of real property document types. For instance, this has assignments of lease, assignment of mortgage, agreements, agreements, and so forth. In order for you to find who owns the property, you must look at the last recorded deed. So for this particular property, because it's a Manhattan commercial building, the deed is pretty much near the bottom or the next page. As you can see right here, the deed was entered in November of 1999. by 59 Maiden Lane Associates. In order to see this information, you would click on IMG. IMG shows the actual document. It shows you who sold it, which was Olympia and York Maiden Lane Company, and who acquired it, which is 59 Maiden Lane Associates. It's from the top, it shows you how the deed look, the seller, and if you go to the next page, it shows when it was signed and notarized.
I think the fundamental principles.
And the Schedule A shows the description of the land, meaning the whole perimeter of the property. And then the other document shows what other information that you needed for your property. To go back, you click search results. It takes you right back to the index. For details, I'm going back to that deed. I'm clicking details. This is the detailed information on that particular property. So it's giving you a little snapshot before you look at the image. It tells you party 1, what their address was, party 2, their address currently, the parcel, which is Manhattan, the block, the lot. It's telling you this information is pre-Acris. That means this document was recorded before Acris came to fruition. That means it was entered on a reeling page or a book. From here, you also can view your document from here, which is the same place I just came from. Right now, I'm going to go back to main options. And from here, I'm going to put in a BBL. This borough block and lot, if this information is actually on your property tax bill on the right-hand corner. So for instance, I have to have one right by me. Give me 1 second. So far, do anybody have any questions? That I went too fast, or anything in that nature? Because sometimes I do talk a little fast. Okay. So I'm entering a borough, which is Manhattan. I'm going to use the block, which is 67. And the lot is 1. Once you have that information, you don't have to go through everything. You just click search. It takes you right back to the index. Now, I'm going to take you to another page. I'm going to take you to the finance homepage. This page, because of the new Office of Defraud, in order for you to sign up for notice of recorded document, you have to search it through the search engine. So this is the program that Mr. White was talking about. I'm going to click on show more. And I'm going to go to the sign up for notice of recorded document. This is the information if you need to know or you want to be alerted if something gets recorded on your property. You will enter your property address, house number, street number. If you're in a condo or so forth, you put in the unit number. Once you enter that information, the block and lot will populate just like how we did with the other information. You want to request that you want to receive information. You put in your name. You put who you are to that property. So if you're a property owner, the attorney, the lender, this executor, you'll click that information. You put the address, the state, your phone number, and email address, confirm your email address, and then you agree to the terms. Once this information is submitted, it will get put in. The only time you will get notified is only if something gets recorded on your property. Other than that, if nothing gets recorded, the notice does not really go out. Only if something gets recorded. Then once you get that letter, read the letter in its entirety, because sometimes people would not realize that they had a mortgage, they paid it off, and it took a long time to send the letter to notice that it was recorded and it was paid off. And read the document, it tells you what was recorded, how to search it, and so forth. Other than that, I have nothing else unless you have any questions about it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Horton. That was great information. And we did want to hold the questions till the end, if that's okay.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, awesome. We want to move right along into the program. Really excited. At this time, we have Miss Rhonda Maco that's going to go into the deed theft presentation. Just to give you a bit of a background, Miss Maco is an attorney here at the Du Bois Fund Center for Public Policy with our DBC legal arm. She has been an esteemed member of the New York State Bar, practicing law for over 20 years. She's a fierce advocate for justice, and she works hard advocating for clients as well as her community. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Ms. Rhonda Maco. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, LaToya, and thank you to Mr. White and also Ms. Horton for your presentations tonight. Thank you all for joining us. We're really appreciative that you're here. We have a lot of information, some of which you've already heard about deed theft, and I want to just get into a few more specifics and expand on what Mr. White talked about, as well as Ms. Horton. So let me get started. I'm going to share my screen, and I just want to make sure everyone sees that. Can you see my screen? Yes, no, maybe so. Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. So obviously what we're talking about tonight is protecting your property, preventing deed theft in New York. And we've already received some information about the different types of deed thefts we see. And I just want to go a little bit more in depth about those types of thefts that we see here in New York. So we'll talk about understanding deed theft, what it is and how the scams work, who's at risk and why cases are rising in New York, warning signs that your title may be compromised, how to protect yourself and the legal safeguards in place, and what to do if this happens and how we can help. So let's just get right into it. So what is deed theft? Deed theft, also called home title theft, is when someone illegally transfers your property's ownership into their name, typically using forged or fraudulent documents that are then recorded as official public records. So we're talking about forgery or fraud, and I will go into a little bit more detail about that. A criminal forges your signature or uses fake identification to create a deed transferring the property to themselves. From there, they record that deed as a legal document. So the forged deed is filed with the county recorder, which accepts documents without, really verifying the signer's identity. So people file deeds all the time. Once they do whatever they need to do, then they'll go and file it. So that's the illegal transfer of ownership. And on paper, the thief becomes the owner of record, free to sell the property or borrow against its equity, which is exactly what they do. So why does this matter? Just a few statistics I just want to put out here. So the FBI recorded more than 1.3 billion in real estate fraud losses from 2019 to 23. And most homeowners don't discover a forged deed for months, long after the thief has sold the property or drained its equity. So that's a serious problem. And that's what we need to talk about. So the most who is at risk when we talk about deed theft, we're talking about seniors and heirs, owners of paid off homes, and vacant or absent owned land. It's ironic because a lot of people think that when your home is paid off, you don't have anything to worry about. That's actually not the case, and I'm going to speak to that in a few minutes. We have to be vigilant about protecting what it is that we own. So let's talk about spotting the signs and protecting yourself. What are some of the warning signs? What about your property tax bills or mortgage statements stop arriving? So let's just say you have the mortgage paid off. You will still be getting property tax bills, right? So if you don't get those anymore, that's a sign that something is wrong. If you have a loan, or if there's something that comes to your house that indicates that there's a loan or foreclosure notice for debts that you never took on, that's an issue. Don't ignore it. See, the problem is that sometimes when people get these notices, they say to themselves, well, I don't have a mortgage on my house, so this is wrong. So, but if it's wrong, you have to confront it. You have to contact the right people to make sure you now inquire about what's going on and to stop it. Because if you just ignore it and throw it in the garbage and say, this doesn't pertain to me, this is how these thieves are able to progress, and it makes it more difficult for you to undo what they did. So whenever you receive something in the mail and it doesn't look right, or someone's telling you that you owe something that you know you do not owe, you have to be proactive and look into it. What about unexpected liens or transfers appear in a title search? Now, see, here's another thing. A lot of people don't conduct a title search. If you've paid off your mortgage or you've been living in your house for 20, 30 years, you're thinking everything is fine. You pay your taxes and there's no need for me to do a title search. But, again, we all have to be proactive about protecting what it is that we own. So it does not take that much to do a title search, to just look at your last recorded deed to make sure that it says what it's supposed to say. And then mail forwarded, or the property's address changed without your request. Again, if you get anything in the mail that indicates that something has changed and you have not changed it, then you need to inquire and make sure that nothing was done to your deed that you did not authorize. So those are just some of the most important warning signs that you really have to be aware of. Now, how do you protect yourself? We just talked about it this evening. Enroll in the, county or the borough's free property fraud alert system, Acris. There also is a system in Nassau County and other counties outside of New York City. So wherever it is that you live, make sure that you call either the clerk's office in your county, or the offices that we spoke about tonight, so that way you understand how you can find out about these alerts. You can also use a title monitoring service for early warnings. A lot of people don't think about title search companies, but you can contact your attorney. If you do not have an attorney, you want to contact one of the bar associations. You want to get a credible attorney who is going to help you with this issue. Attorneys can, they have relationships with title companies, and they can perform these type of searches. We're not talking about something that costs a lot of money. We can do a title search and they might charge you a search fee, maybe $30 to $60 or something like that. It's worth it to have the peace of mind to make sure that you are protected and that your title has not changed hands with someone who forged your signature. You also want to check your recorded deed periodically, with the county again, or Acris. You want to just make sure, you need to make sure you have the right professionals in place in order to do this. Mr. White said earlier, if someone comes to your house and they want you to sign something and they recommend an attorney, you need to be very careful about that. Do not, if you do not know this attorney, you need to contact your own attorney that either or if you get a recommendation from someone you know and trust. If you don't have anyone who knows an attorney who deals with real estate or foreclosures or deed theft or anything like that, you can always call the Boys Bunch Center, and you can also just contact any of the bar associations. Every borough has a bar association. and the Bar Association will refer you to attorneys who will be able to help you. Do not go along with people who you don't know who recommends an attorney, because 9 times out of 10, they're in on the scam that they're trying to pull over on you. So just be very careful about that. There are other things that you can do. You can freeze your credit and make sure that all of your personal documents are secured. You know, when people think about freezing credit or anything like that, they think about, you know, just your credit cards and things of that nature. But you can put a stop to, you can put alerts out there, so that way you alert all of the authorities, as well as different organizations, to the fact that you are on high alert for someone trying to take your property away from you. And again, you need to speak to the right professionals who will guide you in how to do that properly. So these are the ways that you can protect yourself. And we also talked about the warning signs. So why is this happening in New York? I mean, listen, being a homeowner requires you to understand what is going on in your community, who is in your community, gentrification, and all these different things that are happening. This is not something that happened overnight. This has been happening for decades. And the property values in New York has continued to rise, and it has gone up in ways that it do not rise so rapidly in other states. And New York is prime real estate, especially here in New York City. So you got to understand the thieves are out there, and they are coming up with different and creative ways to take your property from you. You got to understand this. This is an operation. There are different arms to these schemes that are going around, and you have to understand, you know, when I was younger, my mom used to always tell me that somebody's always watching you. You have to understand that when you're in a community and you're in a area where, you know, people are buying up properties and things are going on, people are watching you because they want to know who has this property, especially when they have different plans of what they're trying to do. So when we talk about New York City, we're talking about, number one, high property values. New York's steep home prices mean large equity to steal, right? I've come across so many people who have had their homes for 20, 30 years. You know how much the property value has risen if that's how long you owned your home? And if you don't have a mortgage on it, listen, let me tell you something. The people who are trying to steal these properties from you, they are doing the due diligence. They are checking in, they are looking at what the property is worth. They want it, they know who owns it. When they find out it's a senior, or if someone passed away or things of that nature, that's when they move in. So we have to be, you know, very serious about protecting ourselves. So, you know, when you have that large equity to steal, making a forged deed is especially lucrative for these thieves. Number two, who do they target? They target vulnerable owners. Who are vulnerable owners? Scammers, they zero in on seniors, heirs, and owners of vacant or mortgage-free homes who may not notice a filing. Again, I just want to talk specifically about those homes that do not have mortgages on them. Those are the ones that people go for because they know that there's the equity in there. And you're thinking, because you do not have a mortgage, when you see these letters or things coming to the house, that you don't have anything to worry about because you don't own anything. No, that's not how it works. They're going to target you because they know there's a lot of equity in the home. A lot of times when they see that it's a senior who has paid off that mortgage decades before, they'll try to sell you things like a reverse mortgage. I'm not saying that a reverse mortgage is a bad thing, but you'll have people come to the house to say, hey, listen, you have bills that you have to pay, you have all these things. Well, you can get a reverse mortgage and you don't have to make a payment every month. You don't have to do anything. You take out that equity and you'll be fine. And whoever inherits the house is the one who's going to have to worry about it. Well, It's not that simple. They make it seem like it's that simple, but if they're trying to scam you, they're not telling you everything you need to know. And if you don't need to take out any equity from the home, why would you take it out anyway? So you have to be very vigilant in making sure that you are 10 steps ahead of these scammers. Number 3, there has been increased enforcement. The strongest state deed theft laws and high-profile prosecutions have brought these cases into sharper focus. Now, we are in New York, and New York has stepped up. As you know, we now have the newly formed Office of Deed Theft Prevention right here in New York City. We also have the Attorney General's office, and now you know how to navigate Acris. And if you don't, after tonight's presentation, there's a number you can call so that way you can be more familiar with how to protect yourself. Okay, so just keep those things in mind. So now, what are the common themes, schemes that we're talking about here? Number 1, we're talking about forgery. Thieves will forge your signature on a deed and file it to claim ownership. That means you had nothing to do with anything. You don't even know the person, and they forged your name. That's what Mr. Whitehead referred to earlier as that type of deed that they would file would be void ab initio. That's a legal term of art, but meaning that it would be void from the start because it was never legal at all. What other common scheme are we talking about? Identity theft. They will steal your personal data, and that lets a scammer pose as you to transfer the title. So you got to be very careful about the information you have, and you got to protect that personal information. If you can, go to Staples or wherever and have a shredder. When you get statements that come to your home, I don't care what it is. It could be your bank account. It could be you might have some stock somewhere. It might be your retirement statement. These documents might have some identifying information, might not have everything on there, but it may have enough for a thief to steal. The other thing that happens a lot is, there was a time where telemarketers and people, there were some laws that were passed where they couldn't contact you. They're getting very sneaky with calls that are being made, and people are posing as, bank professionals and all types of professionals. They even create emails that actually look like it's coming directly from a bank. So when they call you, and sometimes they can give you back information that you think, well, how did they get that information? If they have that information, then they must know who I am. And then you start talking, and then you give them even more information, and then now they're able to steal your identity. So you got to be very careful with the information that you have at your disposal. Make sure you just don't put it in the trash without it being shredded. When someone calls you, I don't care how much they are nice on the phone, nobody's going to ask you for your social security number over the phone. They're not. And if they do, they're a scammer. So don't give it out. You'd be surprised how often information that you have, personal information, is accidentally given to someone else because of something you may say. Even when you're on your phone and you're out in public, be very careful to make sure that you're not putting in passwords and things of that nature when you have someone looking over your shoulder. So again, you got to be very careful about that. Number 3, fraudulent sales. So the fake owner sells the home to an unsuspecting buyer, or sometimes it's a co-conspirator for quick cash. So that's what happens when they have access to your information. They convey that deed fraudulently, and they quickly take out the cash. There's a loan or something that happens. That's why you have to be very careful. And if you find anything amiss with your property, you got to act as soon as possible. You can't wait. You can't ignore it. You can't say they're mistaken and then just throw it in the garbage, because now the more time that elapses, you're making it more difficult for you to get your property back. Number 4, there's a whole bunch of foreclosure rescue scams. So distressed owners are tricked into signing away the deed under the guise of help. So that actually happens a lot. So as someone who has helped people with foreclosures, listen, if someone ever tells you I can guarantee that I can get you a loan modification, do not use them. Nobody can guarantee you that you're going to get a loan modification unless they are the bank that gave you the loan in the first place. Because I'm going to tell you, so if you have a mortgage on your home and you miss some payments, now the bank is reaching out to you. I know that that is a situation that is very stressful. And, a scammer will pounce upon that disposition in order to get that property from you. So they will have people contact you. Next thing you know, they'll tell you, oh, we can help and this is what we can do. We can get you to do this, X, Y, and Z. You have to be careful. When you're in a vulnerable state, do not make rash decisions. You have to be very careful about that, because you're thinking that this person is trying to help you and they're not. They're trying to help themselves. So if you're in foreclosure, we are in New York, and in order to get somebody out of their house, if they're in foreclosure, you have to go to court. So if there's an issue, you need to contact an attorney that you select, and not someone else that you don't even know recommends for you to use. You got to keep that in mind. You can't just rely on somebody that you don't know that comes up to you and say that they can promise you the moon and the stars. That's not what they're going to do. They're going to try to take that property away from you, and you have to be very careful about that. Once again, who is at risk? We're talking about seniors, absentee owners, heirs, mortgage-free homes. Those are the primary targets. And again, keep in mind that you have individuals and organizations who are constantly searching the tax rolls. There's constantly going to court, looking at who filed petitions for administration. They're looking at who filed petitions for probate. They're looking to see what assets are listed on those petitions. You got to understand, these people they are not going to leave any stone unturned. They're going to try to figure out how they can get that property from you. So you got to understand that and realize that you have to make sure you pay your taxes. You need to make sure you pay your taxes on time. You need to make sure that if you have insurance on the house, that insurance is paid up. If you no longer have a mortgage, you have to understand that it is your responsibility to have insurance on that house. I've said this before in some of the other webinars that we did, but let's just say you have a house, your mortgage is paid off, your taxes are paid, but what if you don't have insurance on the house? And God forbid there's a fire or something. Now, who's going to pay for that? Whenever there's a fire at a house, not only will the fire department and the police show up, you have people who have scanners who are going to show up. Just being honest about this is the level of detail that people have when they are trying to see what they can get. They show up as soon as the fire department shows up. They're the ones who are going to offer you shoes when you came out the house and you don't have any shoes on. You don't have any, you don't have a jacket, or you're in distress because there was a pet or something like that. They're the ones, the scammers, who will come up to you and try to gain your trust. And they will try to elicit information from you to understand where you are and what it is that you need, so they can be the ones who tell you that they're going to give you the moon and stars. Next thing you know, you're signing a contract that you don't really know, but you think that this person is there for you. You got to understand that this is an operation, and a lot of these people work in groups. It's like a system. And then they'll tell you after you sign the contract, I have an attorney for you, and they will help you through the process. Just like Mr. White said about the construction. You know, again, if your house burns down and they know the house has to be rebuilt. So now you already told them, because you were just so shaken up over the whole ordeal, you already let them know you don't have any insurance. Where am I going to live? How am I going to get this done? Oh, these people will say, I'll put you up in a hotel. I can get this done in 3 months. Here, sign right here. You're thinking that they're going to fix up the house. They're getting you to sign over your house to them. And you don't know the fine print and all the different things that they put in there. There's so many different types of scams. We don't even have the time to talk about all the different scams that people try to play when they find you in a vulnerable position. Again, Mr. White also mentioned about the short sales, the predatory lending. I've even seen situations where people were sold solar panels. Now, solar panels are fine, but not everybody who's selling them are doing it for the right reasons. And you sign some type of contract with someone, and next thing you know, you're paying this monthly premium for these solar panels. Your bill is not going down. You don't even know that they filed the UCC lien against you. And then it just snowballs after that. So again, you have to understand what you're signing. You know, that whole saying about if it looks too good to be true, it probably is. There's so many different types of scams, and you have to be aware of these things and not be so quick to sign, even though you're in a vulnerable situation. So please keep that in mind. The other thing I just want to say about heirs, people who inherit homes in probate often have unclear or unmonitored title. A lot of times, the issue that we're dealing with is that the person who owned the home, and and then that person passes away, someone inherits the home. Again, that person sometimes who inherit the home doesn't understand the value of the home. That person may not be in a position to take care of the property. They might view it as a burden as opposed to an asset that appreciates. That person may say, so for example, let's just say, grandma passed away and the next of kin is you, someone who's still in college, can only affording whatever it is that your lifestyle right now can afford. You have your apartment, you have a car, you have all these bills, and you're paying your bills, but now you have to pay taxes on this house that you inherited. If there's a mortgage, then that's a lot as well. A lot of times you might inherit that home and you look at it as a burden because you don't feel like you're in a position to financially take care of that house. So again, speaking to the right professionals will be the ones that help you, guide you through that process and look at all of your different options. It won't be the person on the street who looked up to see that you inherited the house and also is able to find out your status and now try to offer you a way out. It's not going to be that person. You need to speak to someone that you trust and who's able to assist you and help you, navigate the whole process of now owning a home that you didn't anticipate. So that's why you just have to be very careful. So I just want to talk briefly about the difference between forgery versus deception. Deed theft happens two ways. The thief either fakes your signature or fools you into signing the deed over to them yourself. Now, listen, that's a very important distinction. There are a lot of people who are in a situation where their deeds were stolen from them. But you need to understand that while both are crimes, the remedies are going to be different. And how How well the attorney is going to be able to fight for you depends on what type of crime we're talking about. So if we're talking about forgery, remember, you never signed anything. You don't even know the person who fraudulently took your house, right? That's a whole different situation than you signed but were tricked. And see, this is the part that people have to understand. So when they come to the Boys Bunch Center, or you go to an attorney and you say, I'm a victim of deed theft, you have to understand that we have to understand the details of the fraudulent activity, because there's different theories that has to be advanced to the court by an attorney in order to make sure that you're being represented properly. And you need to understand that there is a difference between the two, both crimes, but the type of evidence and the manner in which we are going to be able to proceed in court is going to matter. So forgery, you never signed anything. A thief fakes your signature or uses a phony ID and notary to create the deed. It often targets vacant or absent-owned homes where no one is watching. Because your consent was never given, a forged deed is legally void from the start. So that's void ab initio. Okay? So that's that burden to prove is different than deception, which means you signed, but you were tricked. The level of proof that you have to come up with is different. So when we're talking about deception, scammers disguise the deed as a loan, refinance, or foreclosure rescue paper, right? And then they pressure or mislead the vulnerable owners into signing away the title. So this is how they do it. They're going to tell you one thing, but the documents you sign are going to say a whole nother thing. They are working in concert with someone who drafted that contract, an attorney, who puts clauses in there that are either fine print or things that you did not read, such as you have 3 days to get out of this contract, or they'll put other language in there. So by the time you get to court, they're going to say, well, this person had an opportunity to get out of the contract because we gave them a 3-day window opportunity to get out. Or there's a clause in the contract that says, if you want to speak to an attorney, you have 5 days to, speak to an attorney to make sure that this contract is okay. And they're going to say, you didn't do that. They're gonna come back with all types of arguments to say you had every opportunity to understand what you signed. So that's different than you never met the person at all and the person forged your name. You got to understand that, because we have people who come to us and we understand that you have a situation, and that's not to say that you weren't tricked. But you have to understand that if you don't speak to an attorney and you sign this document, that they're going to come up with all kinds of defenses as to why this was legal. So you just got to be careful about that and understand that there's a difference between forgery and deception. Like I said, both are crimes, but the remedies differ. A forged deed is void ab initio, while a deed signed under deception will make it where you have to prove that it was fraudulent. So just keep that in mind. Those are two very important things to remember. Obviously, there's real consequences to all of this, right? Loss of ownership. On paper, you no longer own the home you have lived in for years if deed theft happens. Number 2, there's an illegal sale. The thief can sell your property out from under you to a third party, and that's exactly what's going to happen. This is why you have to move as fast as you possibly can once you find out that something has happened. So when those notices come to the house and say that something was filed and you know you didn't file anything, you need to make phone calls. You need to, contact the Office of Deed Theft Prevention. You need to contact the Attorney General's office. You need to contact an attorney to find out what's going on. Number 3, loans against property. The fraudsters will borrow against your equity, and they do it quick, and they leave you with the debt. So again, if you get some document saying that you took out a loan for $300,000, and you know that you don't have any loans on the property, you got to act as quickly as possible. Do not ignore it. And then 4, litigation. And this is where a lot of people find themselves. Reclaiming a stolen title can mean months of costly court battles. And here's the thing about litigation. A lot of these fraudsters, they will play the long game. They are banking on the fact that you do not have the time, money, or effort to fight it. That's what they're doing. They have the backing, they have the money, and they have this contract that you signed, and they have all their arguments lined up. And they're going to say, you know, we're going to proceed. We're going to proceed with eviction while the case is pending in court. They know all the tricks of the trade. And so it's an uphill battle the longer you wait to try to get this taken care of. So as soon as you see that there's any type of discrepancy or anything that is out of order, act immediately. So let's talk about defense. What's the first defense? Monitoring. Register for Acris alerts. You just heard it tonight from Ms. Horton. Please do it. New York City's free notification system emails you when a document is recorded. Sign up. That's the first thing. If you're in one of the counties outside of New York, find out if your county has a monitoring system. Again, I know Nassau County does. I believe Westchester County does. So if you live there or you know someone who lives there, tell them to sign up. Number 2, check filings regularly. Now, this is something that people just do not do. Periodic reviews will catch a forged deed before real damage is done. Again, we're not talking about it taking that much time, effort, or money to check filings. If you deal with an attorneys have relationships with title companies. If you asked me to check the last recorded deed, I can get that for you, and it doesn't take that long. And you can check and see if there is something, you know, amiss there. Number 3, review for unknown activity. Unexpected liens or transfers are the earliest signs of fraud. So we had conducted a webinar, I want to say a month or 2 ago, that talked about liens. So this is another area that people don't really think about too much. But I get people who contact my office about a lien that all of a sudden shows up on the property, and they say everything has been fine with their property, and now all of a sudden you got a lien. I had a client who had a Post-it note put on their door about a violation from the building department. And my client was visibly upset, called, was just irate, was so concerned about this, don't understand what's going on, and couldn't figure out who called about this violation. Now, it could have been anyone. I mean, listen, there you have neighbors, anybody can call. There are people who come down your block and you know, see what's going on with different houses. If you see something out of place or a violation, some people will call the building department. I'm sorry, but it's just reality. But what I'm telling you is that if the building department or any agency that tells you that you're not in compliance with something, put something on your door, send something in the mail, you have to deal with it. Again, the scammers are banking on the fact that you're not going to deal with it, and then that'll be a way for them to get in there. Whatever's going on with your home, you have to take care of it. Don't let violations just pile up. Same thing with the taxes. Don't let the taxes just be late. If there's an issue, you have to address it. You really have to address it. So people don't understand that things like violations are very important for you to confront and get under control. So the monitoring monitoring means you being proactive and making sure that nothing is wrong with your property. Protect your identity. We already talked about that. Secure your documents. Lock up your deeds, your IDs, and financial papers that thieves could exploit. You should already have your deeds and things of that nature in a safe place. A lot of times when people come to my office and I ask them for the last recorded deed, a lot of times they don't have it. Those documents that you had at the closing should have included the new deed that was recorded at the closing. You should have all of that in a specific place, not visible for anyone who comes over to your house. So secure those documents as soon as possible. Number 2, shred sensitive mail. Destroy statements and offers that reveal personal details. You'd be surprised what small little detail somebody will utilize in order to gain access to you. And then again, number 3, monitor accounts. Watch credit and bank activity for signs of identity theft. So sometimes those things go hand in hand. I have a monitoring service on my credit. So anytime an account is open, any type of inquiry, any type of anything, I will be making a phone call. So that way you make sure that, nothing's wrong and no one's trying to get your identity. So this is how you protect yourself. Be careful when you sign. I cannot express that enough. Never sign under pressure. And a lot of people who are victims of deed theft, they sign things under pressure because, again, the stress of a foreclosure, the stress of, whatever's going on with the house, not being able to, pay the taxes because something happened, you lost a job or something like that, is very stressful. And when someone comes along and says that they're going to help you, it's very easy to say, oh, great, I'm going to sign because I just want to get this over. So you have to be very careful. Walk away from anyone rushing you to sign on the spot. If someone says you have to sign it today because I'm going to go to the next person and help them out, let them go. They're not trying to help you. They're trying to help themselves. Number 2, review all documents. Read every page and question anything you do not understand. So again, if someone's asking you to sign something, they're not an attorney, you need to contact your attorney. If you don't have an attorney, you can contact the Du Bois Bunch Center. You can contact the bar associations. You contact the Office of Deed Theft Prevention. Contact the Attorney General's office. You have resources. Do not allow anyone to give you an attorney when you don't even know them. Don't do that. And then you want to consult an attorney. And I'm not talking about, when I say consult an attorney, you might know an attorney, but that attorney may not deal with this type of matter. Ask your attorney for a recommendation because you're having a specific issue. If they can help you, great. But if they cannot, ask them to recommend someone who actually handles these type of matters. Okay? Because you need to get the right professionals in place. That's what's important. Now, here's the other thing that people don't make the connection. You and your home goes hand in hand with estate planning. Because if you did some of the estate planning, then a lot of these thieves wouldn't be able to get your property the way they have. Clear title prevents fraud. Well-documented ownership leaves no gap for thieves to exploit. Number 2, estate planning helps you avoid ownership confusion. Trusts and updated deeds keep title from falling into dispute. And then number 3, that's how you protect generational wealth. Sound planning keeps the family home in the right hands. So let me just say this. A lot of people also are talking about trusts. Meanwhile, they don't know what type of trust they should get. The other thing is people think that once you put a house in a trust, that's it. No, absolutely not. Whether you put your house in a trust, whether you have a will, whatever type of estate planning, it still requires you to be active about what's going on in your home. That's it. You still have to monitor. You still have to make sure that everything is going the way it should go. Because again, unfortunately, people pass away. You might have estate documents that are outdated. They have to be updated, right? So, some people just say to me, oh, I have a will, but your will is 30 years old. Chances are the witnesses are no longer available. Even with a trust, God forbid the trustee passes away. And you have to make sure that things are updated. So there's no easy, quick fix. That's not how it works. You don't just create documents and then put them to the side and never look at them again. That's not how it works. You have to be proactive. You have to check periodically. Even when you have your estate documents in place, there are life events that happen to all of us, right? People get married, people get divorced, people have children, people have grandchildren, people have kids that have to go to school. They want to get an education. There's all types of things that happen. And whenever those life changes happen, you need to make a change with your estate plan. So again, it's a proactive issue, especially when you own assets. You have to be proactive about protecting those assets. And estate planning is part of that proaction. Okay? Structural protections. So title insurance. Now, keep in contact with the Du Bois Bunch Center because we're going to have a webinar that talks about title insurance. That is one of the misunderstood insurances that people have or do not have. So if you already closed on your house 30 years ago, you had what they call an owner's policy. And that policy would have protected you, the buyer of the home, from any type of claims that the prior owner may have had against you now owning the home, right? That's what that title policy does. But there may be other insurance that you can get that will help you against deed theft. Now, that's why you need to have attorneys who can speak to these type of issues and understand what other protections you can put in place, right? So a policy can cover losses and defend your ownership in court, but you have to know what type of title insurance is available to protect you from certain things. So just stay tuned and we'll have more information about that. Mortgage oversight. So active lenders monitor the title and flag suspicious filings. But see, for those of you who no longer have a mortgage, that's not going to help you. Once you pay off the mortgage company's not looking for you because they already got their money. So on some level, when you have a mortgage, the banks have a vested interest in making sure that that property is protected. You can't even do certain things. You're not supposed to be changing ownership when you have a mortgage on the property, right? So when people try to do stuff like that, there is something in your mortgage documents that where the mortgage company can, what they call, accelerate the mortgage. So when you have a mortgage on the property, there are some protections to that mortgage company doing their little searches and periodically checking to see what's going on. Now, if you are late on your mortgage, the way it works in the mortgage world is, you're supposed to pay by the 15th, right? If you're late on the mortgage one time, people might, your mortgage company might think it's an oversight. If you're 2 months behind, now that's a blip on the system. Now they're going to be checking to see what's going on. And then they're going to contact you and things of that nature to find out what's going on. They'll do a title search. They'll make sure that you're not trying to transfer the property to someone else because you can't pay your mortgage. Those type of things are going to happen. But again, if you don't have a mortgage on the property and someone's trying to take the property from you, there's no mortgage company to look and see what's going on. So you just got to understand how the system works so that way you can be prepared for what's going on. Then legal review. Periodic checks by an attorney catches problems early. Like I said, if you have an attorney, you can easily call up your attorney and say, can you just check and make sure that the last recorded deed is has my name as the owner of the property? An attorney can get that information very easily. And these are the type of reviews that you should be having done anyway. So don't feel bad. Go ahead and make that phone call so you'll have a lot of peace of mind. So again, we talked about the warning signs, right? Let's talk about missing tax bills. If you know you get your tax bills, they come out, they're very faithful with the tax bills. So if statements stop arriving, that may mean your address was changed. That may mean somebody changed something. Inquire. You have to find out. Number two, if you get unknown notices. So if a loan or foreclosure letters for debts you never took out starts to come to the house, you got to make some phone calls. Call that attorney. Find out what's going on. Number three, new liens. Unexpected claims against your property point to fraud. All of a sudden, someone's contacting you saying that they have a lien against your property and you have no mortgage. That's a problem. And then four, ownership changes. A title search shows a transfer you never authorized. That's when you have to spring into action. So just keep that in mind. What to do immediately? Contact the authorities. Alert the county recorder and local police right away. Go to the Attorney General's office. Go to the Office of Deed Theft Prevention. You will be able to alert the right people that something's wrong. Number two, report the fraud. File complaints. The FBI has what they call an IC3 unit. It's the Internet Crime Complaint Center. They don't really help with this issue, but if you find out about a fraud, you can report it immediately. Like if it happened within like 72 hours or something like that. The problem is a lot of times homeowners don't find out about the fraud until months later. So I just threw that in there, but that's for when you detect the fraud immediately. Number three, hire an attorney. Legal counsel moves quickly to protect your rights. Attorneys have access to things that you may not have access to, so you want to make sure you hire the right professional to help you. And number four, you want to take legal action. Court filings can void the forged deed and restore title. Remember, there's void and voidable. I spoke about that earlier. I'll just recap and talk about it again. There are stronger fraud laws in New York. You are in a state that has more protections. You can do a deed on death transfer. There are remedies here, but again, you just have to act. Two, criminal penalties. Offenders now face felony charges and prison time. Three, deed reversal remedies. Courts can cancel fraudulent transfers and restore ownership, but again, depending upon what type of activity we're talking about, it will depend upon what type of evidence you have to show that this fraudulent transfer took place. Remember, void versus voidable. These remedies reach both types of theft. A forged deed is void from the start, while a deed signed under deception is voidable and can be canceled once the fraud is proven in court. Two different level of threshold in terms of evidence. So you got to be very careful about that. So what's your prevention strategy? Monitor, protect, verify, consult. Monitor, you want to track filings and alerts to spot fraud the moment it starts. The earlier that you can detect it, the better you will situate yourself to stop the thief. Number two, protect, secure the documents and data thieves need to impersonate you. Be very careful about the information you have. 3, verify, confirm any change to your title directly with the county or the borough that you are in. Number 4, consult. Bring questions to an attorney before signing anything. Always. So let's just do a quick case example when we talk about forgery, right? So you have, this is the scenario. You have an owner who's abroad. So let's just say while Mr. Alvarez was abroad, a scammer used a fake ID and notary to forge a deed and then move his paid off Brooklyn home into a shell LLC. That's the scenario. Number 2, within weeks, the LLC then sold the house to an unsuspecting buyer who moved in believing the title was clean. So what happens after that? So now, because a forged deed is void, because remember, Mr. Alvarez didn't speak to anyone. He was away and someone forged the deed. The court cancels the transfer and sale and restores his ownership. So I want to introduce you right now to someone at the Du Bois Bunch Center. This is Yvette Dudley. She's an attorney who actually handles litigation in this area. And she's just going to talk to you a little bit about this case example and what type of things happen if this is the scenario that happens upon you. Yvette?
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Rhonda, Maco. And thank you, the Peter White's the D-Def Mayor's Office, Peter White, and Carmelita Horton. Thank you for those presentations. But yes, to address your scenario, the main thing that a litigator or we at the Du Bois Bunch Center try to do is to try to get the house back. That's one of our primary goals. We are trying to get the house back. We're trying to maintain the status quo. And third, we're trying to divest that culprit from the inherent rights that come with ownership. So the last deed that is recorded, we went through Acris, the last deed that is recorded will be his deed that he sold to that buyer. So we want to divest that buyer and that LLC from any type of ownership interest. So the first thing I would tell that homeowner to do is, number 1, to contact all the legal authorities, the criminal legal authorities, because they have inherent powers to make immediate arrest if they have to. At the very least, they'll open up an investigation. So they would contact their local district attorney's office. They can contact the attorney general's office, and they'll make complaints and follow through with those complaints. As far as an attorney or the Du Bois Bunch Center, we would file we would start a case against that property and file what's called a lis pendens. A lis pendens is a lien against the property, but you just can't file a lis pendens. It's otherwise known as a notice of pendency. You just can't file it without a lawsuit. So we would craft a lawsuit and immediately file a lis pendens on the property. The lis pendens freezes everything. It puts everyone on notice that this property is now in litigation. So now, even though that property went from the homeowner to the LLC to the unsuspecting new buyer, we will freeze it there and maintain that status quo. So if it's flipped again, whoever buys it that third time, or they would have to give the house back. Like, we can vacate those deeds. We would craft a lawsuit that's going to try to capture a way where we can not only vacate the deed that went to the LLC, but vacate all subsequent deeds, including the new owner. So we would definitely bring up forgery. Forgery, as Ms. Maco talked about, it's going to void all transactions after that initial transaction. So we would definitely bring up forgery. We would figure out who to sue. We definitely sue the LLC. We definitely figure out who owns the LLC and sue those people individually. Number 1, the Du Bois Bunch Center is a think tank. So we are putting those individuals' names in the court system. So now if anyone else has been duped by these people, their names automatically will come up. And we would sue the notary, of course, because the notary is the person who's supposedly notarized. So either it's a real notary who did not properly notarize the signature, or it's a fake notary. But one way we're going to find out is by once you file a lawsuit, attorneys now have subpoena power. And one of the first things we do is we subpoena the Department of State. And we're going to figure out whether that notary is a real notary or whether that notary does not exist. If it's a real notary and they're saying that they really did not notarize this, then they're running to the office, of course, because now they're part of a lawsuit and they're going to assist, hopefully, in dissecting this transaction by giving an affidavit saying they never notarized it. If the Department of State comes back and says that this notary does not exist, it's even better because now we have a defective instrument, which is that deed, which is just as powerful as a forgery, and we can wipe out everything else. And then we're going to put all that fraud in there because that's how we're going to capture the individual people. We're going to make sure this property is not in foreclosure. You don't have any active evictions that's going on, and try to stay those evictions while this case is going on. More powerful than a list pendants, we're going to also bring what's called the order to show cause, or ask the court for a temporary restraining order to restrain any further encumbrances or transfers of this deed. Because a person could buy a property with a list pendants. They're at risk of losing the property later. But when now we have a restraining order against the LLC, against the individuals, against the new buyer, once we have a restraining order from the judge saying that they cannot encumber this property or transfer it, and they do so, now we can hold them in contempt and they will be put in prison for violating the court order. So it's different things that we can try to do right away. And Ms. Maco also talked about what is the underlying situation that brought up the suspecting nature of the homeowner in the first place. Like, why did someone approach the homeowner? And it could be because they're in foreclosure, or it could be because their property was vacant. It could be because they don't have the right structure of ownership of their property. Maybe it's still in the deceased person's name. So we will investigate those things and try to address it. So like Ms. Maco said, you will run to an attorney because there's so many things that we can do right away and try to, number one, get the property back, to maintain the status quo, and to divest that new owner of holding any type of ownership power in that property.
Thank you so much for that, Yvette. And now we have another scenario that I would like Yvette to opine upon. This is where it's deception and not forgery, right? So here's the scenario. The owner's being tricked and signed the deed over. So facing foreclosure, you see these common themes here. Miss Bennett signs what she's told is loan rescue paperwork. In reality, a deed handing her Bronx home to the rescue company, that's what she actually signed. So then now what happens after that? The home is flipped, and then now all of a sudden, this homeowner is facing eviction. The company quickly sells the home and starts eviction, even as she keeps making what she believes are loan payments. And then what happens after that? So now Ms. Dudley will talk about the type of evidence that you have to come up with, but if we can be successful, the court would unwind that deed because she was deceived. So that means the deed is voidable. And once she proves the fraud, the court can cancel it and restore title. So Yvette, can you speak to this type of scenario?
347-564.
Yes, I can. So yes, in this instance, he did put his pen to the paper, so that would be his signature, like you're saying. But he did so under false pretenses or some type of deception. So again, we are naming in our action any company that is involved, probably a LLC. And we are naming the individuals who own that LLC because they have now meat in the game. We are putting their name in the system. They kind of bank on just being protected by a LLC, but an LLC only has limited protection and shielding their owners only when it deals with something other than fraud. So if they're defrauding people, then we can name those individuals. And again, we have subpoena power by serving a subpoena primarily on the Department of Finance to figure out who signed those Acris papers in the first place. Because those LLCs have to divulge who is some of the members. But yes, and then we're trying to get stays. We're trying, part of the 2023 deed theft new laws that came out, we are permitted to get stays against the eviction and stays against any type of foreclosure while this case is going on. And we could try to put our client back into possession of that property, making sure that the new owner is not collecting rent from anyone. So there are certain stays that we can do. And again, it's how you craft that summons complaint. When we talk about fraud, we're always naming, if it was flipped already, we're always naming the new owner. And again, maybe there is still some type of defect in that instrument, that primary deed that took place. And then a lot of these transactions are not following a very old law, which is the Home Equity Theft Protection Act. And Rhonda talked about it in her presentation, but in that act, anytime someone is in distress and you're doing some type of transference of that deed, certain contracts have to be signed with certain provisions. And 95% of the time, the investors are not allowing the homeowner sign those things because it's raising an eyebrow in the homeowner's eyes, such as you have a right to cancel the contract or you have a right to speak to an attorney. They're definitely not doing those type of contracts at all with them because they don't want you to believe that you have a right to cancel anything. So we would try to put those type of causes of action in that as well. And again, we are reporting this immediately to the law enforcement agencies, because now the law enforcement agencies under the 2023, they have the inherent power to undo and to void these deeds out, even on a avoidable transaction.
Exactly. Thank you so much for that information. And we just wanted to give you some examples so you understand the differences between the forgery and the deception and the level of proof that has to go along with any court cases that would be initiated as a result of this. So thank you so much for that, Yvette. So now, again, just so we're clear, we're almost done. We're going to be taking questions soon. I just wanted to be clear about void versus voidable. The two case examples that we just talked about, one was void ab initio, so it was never valid. The trigger was a forged signature. No one ever consented to that. The status is invalid from the very start, as if it never existed. The remedy, the court will cancel it outright, no proof of intent needed. But voidable is when you signed, but you were tricked into signing the deed over. A real signature obtained by deception. The status legally valid until a court is asked to set it aside. The remedy, you must prove the fraud to unwind it and act before a good faith buyer's rights attach. And again, every case, there's going to be different facts that go along with it. Yvette is very versed in understanding these different scenarios. And when you bring these cases, you have to understand that we have to get all the information in order to make sure that all of the correct legal theories are put into these court cases. So just keep in mind, this is why this matters. In these scenarios, both deeds can be reversed, but a void deed falls on its own, while a voidable one must be challenged in time. But you want to try to get this to attorneys as soon as possible. So let's do a little quick client checklist here. Monthly record check. Again, this is not something that takes that much time or effort. Review the filings each month or, every few months for unfamiliar activity. If something comes to your home, any type of mailing that looks suspicious, someone saying that you did something or you owe something and you don't, you have to move as quickly as possible. You also want to do an annual legal review. Have an attorney audit your title and estate plan yearly. And then if even more, even sooner than that, if there are any type of life changes that happen. You got to be very careful about that. And number 3, document protection. Keep deeds and IDs secured against theft. right? You want to make sure that your documents are in a secure place. They're not in plain sight when people come into your home. They're in a place where you know they are. Try to keep them away from a safe deposit box. There's also issues with that. Sometimes you will have to go to court. You know, if something happens to the person, the homeowner or something like that, the next of kin will have to go to court to get that safe deposit box, opened unless they have a key. And a lot of times, again, people forget to give keys or give the right person things. You have to make sure that your estate affairs are in order. So if that means speaking to the right people, letting whoever know where those documents are, you have to do these things, because if you don't, then you leave a lot of confusion and a lot of things to sort out for the next of kin. So, again, estate planning, title review, fraud potential, prevention, and representation. You have to be able to contact the right people to make sure that you get these things in order. So the call to action is to protect your home today. You have to call an attorney. You have different professionals now that you are aware of where you can call and make sure that you're being protected. Do not be afraid to contact people. It's very important that you know how to protect yourself, and we are here to help you as much as possible. I want to thank all the people who were on the call today. Mr. White, Ms. Horton, Yvette Dudley, who is part of the legal arm, and I will actually turn it over to Yvette because she wants to give you some information about a wonderful upcoming webinar that she's going to conduct. That is a continuation of what we're talking about today, that talks specifically about the litigation involved in deed theft. So you don't want to miss this, and I will turn it over to Yvette Dudley.
Thank you again, Rhonda, for that wonderful presentation. First of all, I would like to tell everyone who is spending their evening with us that you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. I put the address in the chat. All of our presentations are recorded. All the ones that we have been doing for the past couple of years are on that YouTube channel. So please subscribe and please check us out and share it with anyone that has missed any of these programs. What I do want to share with you also is we have clinics. So everything that was spoken about today, we have clinics set up that you can have one-on-one discussions with the attorneys, with Rhonda Maco or myself, to discuss any of your issues. So we talked about estate planning, and sometimes your property is not owned properly, and it may be a reason why that people are targeting your property because you don't have the property deeded properly. So you can make an appointment with the estate planning clinic, and that will be addressed. Any type of wills or trust issues, any type of real estate issues, foreclosures, deed theft, things like that. You can make an appointment with the Housing Stability Real Estate Clinic. And we also have a third clinic, it's a business clinic, to make sure that any of your startups or your businesses are proper. So I'm going to put all that information for the 3 clinics, how you can schedule free appointments with them and speak with attorneys. And for the business clinic, it's another member of the Du Bois Bunch Center, Keith Kench. And I'll put all that information. Please sign up, use these services. And again, just like Rhonda talked about, you call us, you ask us to look up your property, make sure it's deeded the right way, who owns it, how we own it. We'll do all of that for you. Thank you, Rhonda. And anyone part of this program, hopefully you have signed up with the Du Bois Bunch Center as a registrant, and you will receive all of our programs, including the next deed theft program coming up.
Thank you, Yvette, for that. And now we'll turn it over to LaToya. We have Q&A right now, so I know that there's some questions that were put in the chat. What questions do we have?
Awesome, ladies and gentlemen. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to drop it in the chat, or you can come off of mute. I see we have a hand raise of 347268. You want to share? Okay, if not, we have Bianca. off
Yes,
mute.
I just want to be good evening first of all, and the information that everyone gave is very good. I just want to be very clear because in regards to the deed theft, if there's a mortgage on the house, can they still try to attempt to steal your deed?
Yes, they can. Yvette, do you want to speak more to that particular issue?
Sure, yes. So yes, like Ms. Mako said, absolutely. Remember, you have your deed and your mortgage. So they can still do a forgery, they can still trick you out of your house, they can still do something where they are going to capture ownership of your house. The fact that a mortgage is on there, the only repercussions against the thief would be that now they own the house subject to your mortgage. So somehow they have to pay off that mortgage, but maybe you have a low mortgage, maybe it's a lot of equity. So the quick answer is yes, they can steal your house, even though you have a mortgage on your property.
And
Okay.
may I just really may I add to that? Working in foreclosure, you used to kind of see a lot of that. The issue with that is, again, if you stop paying, sorry, if you stop paying your mortgage, remember you are still on the hook for the mortgage, right? So they may own the house, they have all the upside but none of the downside. So you stop paying, your credit is the one that takes the hit. And sometimes what they'll do, they'll try to sell it or do other things. But you have to be especially careful if you have a mortgage and you have a lot of equity in the home, because you can still try to bleed that equity out.
Right. So the only thing is basically to make sure I register for the ACRIS to monitor, to make sure that no one tries to put anything against the home. Is that the solution to something like that?
It's a proactive position that you are taking. So it doesn't stop someone from taking the house, but the sooner you find out, then you have more options available in trying to get that house back.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Awesome. We still have a number. Someone's on a phone, 347 number. You want to come off mute and ask your question? If not, we have Ms. Jennifer, hand is raised.
Yeah, suppose one of the parties that's on the deed passes away. What's the best thing to do in that case?
Well, I guess since I'll just take it. It depends what type of deed you have. So generally, there are three types of deeds people get. Well, two. So you have joint tenancy, and then you have tenancy in common. So tenancy in common is generally, let's say, like family members. Joint tenancy could be people that bought the home at the same time, or like partners, right? Who are married. So generally, tenants in common means you own a 50-50 percentage of the home. That means when someone passes away, they really have to have, it's really great if they have estate planning, because their 50% is going to go to their next of kin if they did not have, or their heirs if they did not have a will in place, right? So that could cause problems for the other person who owns the other 50%. However, if it's joint tenancy, basically each person owes 100%. So if someone passes away, or what we call a predecease, the other party, then they will inherit their 100%. If that makes sense. So it's not going to pass to the other heirs. It's just going to go to that other person.
And again, you have to be careful here, because if you don't understand, see, again, an attorney will look at that title and tell you exactly what it means. If, like Mr. White said, if it's tenants in common, we know that 50% is owned by one person and 50% is owned by another. But if it's let's just say you have a married couple, and sometimes, depending upon how these deeds were written out, it doesn't even say that. But in New York, if you're a married couple and you take title and it doesn't say on there, with rights of survivorship and stuff like that, it's still presumed to be you both own 100%, right? So if one person if one of the spouses passes away, that the other spouse inherits the house 100%, right?
Mhm.
And someone will come along and say, "Oh, well, you know what? You need to, you need to convert the deed over to yourself, right? You're the surviving spouse." They'll say, "Oh, you need to." No, you don't. You don't need to do that because the
Okay.
deed tells you exactly, again, an attorney is the one who will be able to tell you that. Because the deed, um, it's called by operation of law, right? When you have a married couple and they own the house, and it usually will say that language, but to the extent it doesn't have that language, when one spouse passes, then by operation of law, the house will vest in the surviving spouse. So you don't need to put the house in your name as the surviving spouse because the deed actually tells you the whole story, right? So if someone comes along telling you that you need to now change something, you need to talk to an attorney because again, that
Okay.
could be trying to take something away from you that you already own. Do you understand? So that's why whenever
Yes.
anybody
Yes, yes,
says
yes.
anything, don't do it. Go speak to an attorney because
Okay.
they're actually making you, number one, incur an additional expense for you to record a new deed when you don't even have to. And number two, they might be trying to steal the property from you. So just be
Okay.
very careful, okay?
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
So we have Tamara, and then the last question in the chat. Tamara,
Hi, I'm here. Hi, good evening. I just had probably several questions. When it comes to the clinic for the trust, is that an in-person or a Zoom or how does that work?
It could be both. It could be either or, right? So we do have virtual meetings that we set up. It depends on where you are, but we try to be flexible and meet the community needs. So if you need an in-person meeting, we can arrange that.
Is that free of charge?
Yes, it is.
Okay, should the trust be present at the meeting? I would assume that would be best.
What do
I
you
mean,
mean?
not the trust, the deed.
Yeah, that would be great. But again, if you don't have it, there's a way for us to get a copy so long as we have the information which we'll ask for. But to the extent that you have it, that would be good.
Okay, and with this recording, is it going to be emailed to us when it's done or?
we're gonna post it on our YouTube channel. You guys will receive that information via email.
Okay. And then with a trusted attorney, the issue that my parents are having, because they paid off their house, they're elderly, house has a lot of equity in it, is just finding an attorney that they feel comfortable with. Because with all the fraud that's going around, it's nerve-wracking. So I guess if when we're in those the clinics, can you recommend any good attorneys or no?
They're on the line with you now.
Rhonda
Uh,
Maco is a trusted
okay.
estate planning attorney. So you're looking
Thank you.
good.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
listen, I tell people all the time, I don't care who you're talking to. So let's just say you set up a meeting with me. If after
Mhm.
that meeting you don't feel comfortable, do you need to go someplace else? Do you understand what
Okay.
I'm saying? You
Mhm.
have to feel comfortable. And the other thing I tell people is that you need to ask any attorney that you're speaking to questions. You come prepared and ask them questions. Oftentimes what people do is they'll have an attorney and attorneys know how to speak to you. And a lot of times
Absolutely.
people, a lot of times people don't even understand everything that the attorney is saying. If you don't understand, stop them and ask questions. And if they explain it to you and you still don't know, ask again. And if they explain it to you again and you don't understand, ask again. And if you
Mhm.
don't feel comfortable, then you need to get another recommendation and speak to someone who makes you feel comfortable. Do not engage or retain someone and you still do not feel comfortable. I don't care who they are.
Okay.
Okay?
All right. So in the clinic, I can make an appointment to speak with you or Yvette,
Yes.
Miss Dudley. Okay, good. Well, you'll be hearing from me soon and my mom because
Okay.
we've been looking hard for something or somewhere to go to put this trust in place. Thank you so much for your time.
It's our pleasure.
Mhm.
Awesome. Thank you. And the last question we have in the chat, Dorian asks, is purchasing your property with title insurance enough to protect you?
That's a really good question. So it depends on the type of insurance you get. So when you buy your property, you are going to have what they call a title, an owner's policy. So that policy will protect you against the person you bought the property from. Okay, so like for example, if that person sold the property and it was fraudulently obtained from them, by them, that policy will definitely protect you against that. But then post things that happen to you once you purchase the property, that's a whole different story. Now, the title company does offer, and this is why we're going to have a webinar addressing this issue, and we'll have a title person on the line. A lot of times when you purchase the home, there is an extended policy premium that you can pay at the closing table, but most people do not get it. And they explain to you that that coverage will cover certain things post-closing, right? And it could be some forms of theft and things of that nature, but most people don't get it. And the interesting thing is that extended coverage will increase the premium that you're paying by like $250. But when you're closing, and most people don't have, they have just enough money for that closing. And so when someone says you got to pay an extra $250 for an additional extended coverage that may cover certain things, a lot of times people do not get that. So we are going to conduct a webinar and have a title company and explain all the different coverages that are available at the closing table that will cover you for things that happened prior to, and then whatever coverages are available post-closing, okay?
And just to supplement what you're saying, Rhonda, title companies are actually coming out with a new endorsement, I think, because of the pressure that's going on now with deed theft. The new endorsement before the end of the year will be deed theft endorsement, which is, like Rhonda said, it is something new. It's just like any other policy, homeowners insurance policy. The more coverage you want, the more you have to pay. So what I can just tell anyone on here that's going to buy a house soon, just ask your closing attorney about the deed theft endorsement. And if it comes out by that time, ask them what's the parameters of it, the expense of it, and what does it cover. But have that conversation as you go into that closing.
Absolutely.
Awesome, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes this program. So I want to thank the leadership of DBC's legal arms, Yvette Dudley and Ms. Rhonda Maco. Thank you for your leadership and the wealth of information that was shared. Let's give a digital round of applause to Aaron Jimenez, who is our logistics coordinator for this Zoom, help us do this very smoothly. Give yourselves a digital round of applause for everyone that stayed on the line and learned some valuable information. Just by a show of hands, how many people learned one thing today? You could drop, an emoji or raise your hand. How many people learned two things today? How many people learned something that they can take back and share with their neighbor, their family, or loved one? All right, awesome. Guys, again, we are a think tank. I absolutely need this data to show that we are actually having an impact in our community. So please tap into our events, follow up with Rhonda and Yvette. Come visit our campus, support our organization so we can do more great work on behalf of our community. And with that, I send out on behalf of Dr. Zalima Blair, who is the Dean of the School of Business. We want to thank you all for participating in our program. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on social media, and we will be in touch with more phenomenal programs. Thank you again.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.